A to the K.
to the K.
To the K. Hello, one and all. Welcome to the A to the K Wrestling Show. Joining us today is one of the UK's fastest rising stars. At just 17 years old, she is the new LWF Women's Champion. It's that girl, main event, Maddy Morgan. Maddy, thanks so much for being here. How are you?
No problem. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, thanks for being.
Much appreciated. Thank you for taking the time. So we'll start right at the beginning of the record, and obviously you've been wrestling since you were just 11 years old.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask, so how did you first get into wrestling and decide this is what you wanted to do?
So it was more like I was watching it from when I was younger, and then when the whole COVID lockdown happened, my mum worked for the NHS, so I couldn't see her, and I had to go and live with my dad. And then from there, I kind of just watched it there. Like a lot, like, and I mean like a lot. My full YouTube history was like WrestleMania, WWE, all of that. If there was a video on YouTube to do with wrestling, it was already watched in my history. Like I watched everything, and from then we got out of the lockdown, and I made a PowerPoint for my mum, and it was called Where to Wrestle, and we literally had like the top 7 like wrestling schools around me because there aren't many. And I ended up going to UKW for a few weeks. Then my mum was like, listen, babe, like this is quite a far-fetched away. Like we were driving 2 hours just to do like 2 hours of training. And I was like, right, fair enough. And then we found LWF, which is like my home. Like I've been there since I was very young. And yeah, I've just loved it ever since. Like you're never not catching me at training or at a show, or even if I'm not on the show, going to watch anyway. Like I love it. It's my life now.
Oh, amazing.
That's awesome.
Obviously, training under the Lancadors at LWF. What's that been like training under those guys?
Oh my God, I love them. They are honestly that I call them my dads. And one of the wrestlers called they've changed the names now. MRD, his wife called Lorna. She's like a second mum to me. But training under them two was literally like the funniest experience you could ever imagine. It was like going to a circus, going to a trampoline park, just shoving it all together and then cracking on with wrestling. Like that's literally what it was like, and I'd not change it for the world. I loved it.
Oh, brilliant.
That sounds brilliant. It's nice that there's that sort of community.
Yeah.
So what I'd ask is, what would you say one of the most important lessons you've learned sort of during your time there so far?
Probably when you realise you need to take a break. Because wrestling so much, especially since starting shows, like last week I did 9 shows back to back, and it was like after that I'm thinking like, oh, I need to go to training, I need to do this, I need to do that. But then actually sit down and realise that you've just done all that, you need to take a break, because then it gets to the point where like, again, another one, and then you don't want to fall out of love with wrestling. Like that'd be my worst nightmare. So definitely taking a break, looking after yourself, make sure you're eating healthy, stretching, working out, eating the right foods, and just keeping on track really with everything.
Yeah, no, you definitely, as you say, you want to just be enjoying what you're doing.
100%.
So I believe are you from around Blackpool? Obviously, one of the all-time greats, William Regal, is from the area. Has his kind of success kind of helped you with the belief that maybe this is something you could make a career out of?
Yeah, definitely. Whenever I see like, especially like, I know they're not quite as close to me, but like Paige and
of course,
everything like that. Like when that movie came out, I was like, wow, so you can actually become a wrestler even if you're in the UK. Like I've literally got her belt that she won over there in the background.
That's awesome.
I've had that. I saved up like 2 years worth of Christmas money and bought it when I was like 10, something like that. But definitely like seeing other people's success, and like even like some of the girls and boys around me now who are like older than me, but they're doing like all these shows every weekend. It's very like inspirational. You're like, wow, I can actually make a living out of this. Like I've actually just recently dropped out of college to become a full-time wrestler. So it's all hopefully going to plan so far.
Yeah.
Awesome. That seems to be, doesn't it, to be fair?
Well, exactly.
So obviously you clearly were and are a wrestling fan. So I just wondered, did you ever manage to sort of check out NXT UK when they were going and when they were in Blackpool?
I didn't know. I think because we ended up going to a few of the WWE live events.
Yeah.
But I think when all of that was going on, I was quite young. So it was more
fair,
like I couldn't, like my mum, she was like, oh yeah, I'll take you. And then it's like, you really have to go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. So obviously, huge congratulations from us. As we said in the intro, you're the new LWF Women's Champion. Obviously, very clearly emotional night in Rochdale when you got the win. Obviously, your mum coming into the ring at the end and stuff as well. What was that whole experience like for you?
Everything just went quiet. I couldn't hear anything. I pulled the ugliest crying face I think I've ever pulled. I watched back that video about 10 times and thought if I could go back and change anything, it would be the way that I was crying. And I would much prefer to have had a pretty cry rather than stand there like I was constipated or something, because I was literally like, oh my God, Maddy, like, that is horrendous. Like, you can't be showing everyone that side to you.
It's all
part of it's real, isn't it?
Yeah.
Real emotion.
Yeah. But obviously, this was probably LWF's biggest show to date. And obviously, you had dancers for your entrance and everything.
Yeah.
It was almost sort of akin to a WrestleMania type entrance. I just wondered what that was like.
You know what? At first, when I heard that we were having dancers coming out with us, I was like, oh, really? Like, is everything going to, like, is it going to be in the way or is anything like that? But honestly, like, I loved it. It was literally like a WrestleMania entrance. Yeah. A funny story that you couldn't actually see, but everyone there saw. So I'd gone out to get ready for my entrance. I'm sat on the stage, and I'm already nervous enough as it is. And they decide to have a thank you announcement right as I'm sat on the stage with my head down, waiting to go. So I was sat there for about, I think it was like 6-7 minutes, like this, with this hat down, and I was like, "Come on, come on!" And then we'd like to thank everyone here and like pointing people out, and I was like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I was like, this is lovely and everything, but I'm dying over here. Like, come on.
Because like, I suppose you couldn't go back off. As well, you know what I mean? Like, you'd already come out, so it's like you couldn't then just run away and then come back, could you?
I was really hating it. I was like, I'd much rather just run off the stage now and wait for them to finish whatever they're talking about. Because I heard all the dancers like whispering, saying, "Are we going yet? Are we going yet?" And I'm like, "Come on."
I mean, that's hilarious.
Say some of the back.
I know, stuff you don't see. So obviously you've done a lot of intergender matches, something we're obviously big fans of on the show. We've had guests on who've said that it's not really that different. Obviously you train with the guys, so it's not that different wrestling with them. Obviously being the LWF Women's Champion now, do you see yourself kind of scaling back on the intergender matches, or is that still a big part of your 2025?
You know what, I love wrestling the intergender matches, especially at LWF, because it is literally just like having a scrap with my brothers. So I definitely would not want to scale back on the amount that I do with all the lads, because some of my funniest moments have been in the big 6-man tag matches where I've got like my 2 twins. They're called the Pac Men. They're lovely. They are my little brothers. Wherever I drive them, like I'll drive them to training every now and again. It is just like, we have to record it because it's just too funny. It's like we should be having like a reality TV show following us around, because we just bicker, we argue. It's just funny. And I tagged with them at one show, and one of them decided to ask me, what are we having for tea after this? And I was like, not the time and the place to be asking me what we're having for tea, but we are having McDonald's on the way back home. So just leave it as that and just carry on. I was like, what are you talking about?
Love it.
Love that.
Goes back to that game, that community.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'll be having me tea. That's an important question.
And Mackie's fine choice.
Yeah.
So obviously you are now the face of the LWA. Read that one. Sorry. You're now the face of the LWF Women's Division. You're featured really prominently on all the posters, which must be really cool. But does it add any pressure, and does that sort of have any impact with you? Obviously, with you being just 17.
I've always had the same like mindset with wrestling. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're wrestling in front of 10 people or 100 people, it's exactly the same. 10 people, 1,000 people, the nerves and everything has always been exactly the same. It does add a bit of pressure on because it feels like everyone's there to come and watch you specifically. Like if you're on the poster on your own, or if it's just you and a few other people, it's like, wow, your face is on there. Like that is what they've bought the tickets for. That's what they've seen and got interested in and got, we will come to this. So I definitely say it adds a bit of pressure, but not like to the point where I'm like, oh my goodness, like I can't do this.
Yeah. No, that's fair. You mentioned obviously you've just done your second year of Megaslam, which is obviously a very intense tour of the UK.
Yeah.
I think you said how many dates was it in a row that you just done?
We just done 9 shows back to back.
So
every single day.
9 shows all across the UK, all over the, up and down the roads. Like what was that like? And also, has that kind of made you give you any appetite to work any more promotions across the UK?
I absolutely love Megaslam. Like the team we've got, like everyone on the team, it's just a lovely community. I love traveling with everyone. The car drives are probably the best bit of the shows. It's just so funny. Except for driving from Swindon to my house on the way back on my own, it was horrible. It was pouring down rain. It was that windy that my car was like drifting, and there was like that much water on the floor that people were going 60 and going through this water, and I was like going 6. I was like, I'm so scared. I started crying. That's the only downside to traveling. But definitely, like, I'd love to go to other promotions, but I feel like when it comes to picking which ones to go to as well, it's like you want to make sure that, like, for me especially, it's like I always like to know that I've got someone on there that I do know. Because, like, I am confident, don't get me wrong, but I do prefer walking into a room and knowing at least one person that's on there.
Yeah.
That's a good rule, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. That makes sense.
Yeah. But obviously the UK scene is white hot right now. You're recently in the ring with Lana Austin for title. So I just wondered who else stands out for you on the UK scene that you'd like to sort of test yourself against. Perhaps the likes of Lizzie Evo or Rio, to name other northern wrestlers, I suppose.
Well, I've actually already had a little thing with Rio. When I was 14, I made a debut in the Lancashire Riot, and she was actually the person to eliminate me. That's my claim to fame with Rio, that she eliminated me from a Royal Rumble in like 2022.
I mean, that sounds like a rematch waiting to happen.
Yeah, some revenge on the cards.
Absolutely. Honestly, she's just so lovely. We were on Spine Busters together, and I got to speak to her because I hadn't seen her in a few years, and it was just lovely to like catch up with her. She was like, "Oh my god, like I remember you from like 2-3 years ago. Like you've grown up so much." And I was like, "I know, it's been 3 years."
Yeah, I mean, obviously she's from like Preston, and so she must be like a bit of a like role model to show obviously what you can go on and
of course
do as well.
A few that I've wrestled her before, but I definitely want to have my singles against Angel Hayes. Like she's lovely. We're on Megaslam a lot together. We do a lot of mixed tag matches, but that single match I'm definitely wanting.
Yeah, not 100%.
Nice. So stepping away from the wrestling world for a minute, just to obviously help people get to know you a bit better, have you got any other kind of hobbies or interests that your fans might not be aware of?
I did gymnastics for quite a while. Gymnastics has always been a big hobby. I did gymnastics from probably the age of like 6 to about 10, and then I got into wrestling. But I really enjoyed gymnastics, don't get me wrong, but it was to me it came across as boring because it was like the same things over and over again. It was like you do this backflip, like do it 10 times till your feet are pointed. It was like, right, come on now, like something a bit more exciting. So then I got to.
I love how you like backflips, boring.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose of all the hobbies, though, that was a good one to kind of, to go alongside what you've done.
Yeah, it kind of complements it, really, doesn't it? Do you find it's like having a gymnastics background has sort of helped your in-ring work?
Moonsaults wouldn't have been able to do it without gymnastics. I feel like footwork a lot as well, because like with gymnastics and routines, like you have to make sure your feet, like this is in a certain place, this is here, this is that. And I feel like the same with wrestling, like footwork really helped. I think remembering stuff as well. Like for wrestling, you've got to remember quite a bit. So it's like doing gymnastics, remembering all of the moves you're supposed to do in a row. It helps out a lot.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. It must be hard not to keep trying to point your toes.
Yeah. So you recently got to wrestle in Denmark. I just wonder what that whole experience was like, and if there are any other countries that you sort of want to check off your list over the next year or two.
So I wrestled in Denmark. I went to a training camp, and then we obviously did the show. The Denmark training camp was one of my favourite weeks ever. We got there on a Monday, and I think every single day we started training at 8 in the morning. We finished at about 6, obviously with a few breaks in between. Then we stayed up till like 3 in the morning talking. Then we went back to sleep. Then we were up at 7, breakfast, training every single night. And I just got on it with everyone that was there. I met some like lifelong friends there. And the show itself, it was actually pouring down rain that day. So we didn't get to go to the market. So we did it in like the training facility that we were in. But definitely if I hadn't have gone there, I wouldn't have met some of the people I have now, which would be like a huge upset. So I'm really glad I went.
Yeah. Is it, speaking of wrestling in different countries and stuff like that, is the dream ultimately to break America, like WWE, AEW, even TNA? Like, where does, 27-year-old Maddy Morgan see herself?
Maddy Morgan, when she's 27, wants to be headlining WrestleMania. Nice. I made a promise to my mum. It was, I'm not having any kids until I go on to WrestleMania at least once. That was what my deal with her was. I definitely want to move to America. I'm hopefully moving in the next year and a bit. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I've got a few shows this year all over the world, Barcelona and France, America, hopefully. I have actually been to America before for a family holiday, but it was like my uncles lived down there, so we stayed with them for 2 weeks, and then I ended up being able to go to Knox Pro,
nice.
Rikishi's school for 2 weeks, and it was just incredible. Like I met some girls there, like I still message to this day, and this was like 2 years ago now, but definitely would like to go back there at some point this year.
Oh, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Going worldwide by the sounds of it.
No, hell yeah.
So obviously, you've got this sort of incredible backing of the fans. They obviously love you, but I'm just wondering, have you ever played the heel before, or is that something you think you'd revel in?
I love playing heel. Honestly, it is one of my favorite things, especially at Megaslam. I'm a heel every now and again. Team Nasty, and it is really fun. Like in the nicest way possible, telling a load of kids on the front row to shut up and sit down. Like it is lovely.
Yeah.
See, it's mad that because obviously, I know. I think we read an article. I think you were featured in the paper at some point, talking about obviously being an inspiration. You kind of started wrestling because you were going through some tough times, and you've now become an inspiration to kids and stuff. So I just think it's funny to hear you say, I just like looking in their faces and just doing whatever. But it do you not feel any because obviously you are such an inspiration to to girls growing up who want to be a wrestler. Does that not have any impact on you? Just kind of being a total heel to them.
I think so, but then I still have the girls that come up to me. I played heel. What day was it? Saturday, and we still had little girls coming up to me going "Oh, I want to be just like you," and I'm like, "Oh, not when I'm a heel though. Please don't be like me when I'm a heel."
I love it.
I do love playing heel though. My favourite's always heel mixed tag match. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, it's fun to play the bad guy in it. To be fair.
Yeah.
So obviously you sort of mentioned this briefly earlier. I alluded to the belt as well, but you take some inspiration from Paige or Saraya, who fellow Brits who went on to be hugely successful. I just wondered whether sort of any other sort of inspirations you had growing up, role models, should I say, is the right term?
Definitely Nikki Bella, 100%.
Yeah.
I actually got a birthday message off her when I was 13, and it was
awesome.
I watched it every day religiously for about 2 years. I'm not going to lie to you. Every single morning I'd wake up and watch it. My uncle was working on AGT Extreme, and she was obviously a host on it. So, like, he pulled a few strings for me, and I got a video from her, and I was like,
that's awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah.
I think Sasha Banks as well. And then from like around my area, definitely like Rio, Lana Austin, Lizzie Evo. I'm trying to think about who else is like. There was Lily Winter, Harley Hudson, a big one. I'm probably missing out 100 names, which I definitely do look up to and did.
Yeah.
Trying to think now. Mel Price, she's always just been lovely backstage. She actually, when she found out I won the title, she was like, "Oh my god, like you won the title, you won the title," and I was like, "I know."
That's nice to see, isn't it? Like that you've got like we talk about community a lot in this, but it seems like the locker room and everything has always kind of got that sense of community, which is nice to see. I'm curious if there's any advice that you would have given to your younger self when kind of starting out. Obviously, I know you've said now that you've learned to appreciate taking a break and stuff like that, but when you're first starting out in the business, is there any advice you would give?
Don't look at your messenger DMs.
Yeah, that's pretty good advice.
They are horrible. People sometimes, it's just like you think you do realise that the person you're messaging is a human as well. Like some of the stuff that like I'd much rather have gone back in time and told my 16, 15-year-old self, like, please just put like a parent lock on your comments, who can view your stuff, the messages you can get, because people are just nasty, not even in a nasty way, but like very creepy, you could say. It was getting to a point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, these messages are horrible. Like, and to the people, they might not think that they're being horrible, but when you're telling a 16-year-old like, oh, I want to do this and that, it's like,
I think that's the thing, because like we obviously we can't relate. We're in the social media world, and we do this, so you know, we're familiar with odd messages here and there. But I think being a young female in the wrestling space must be, like you say, it's not something we could probably understand fully, but it's it must be very difficult, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I think it's good advice just for social media as a whole. I think people just don't seem to, as you say, they don't feel like if they say it on social media, they don't have
some
any
sort of anonymity, I guess.
And it's like, horrible. But good advice.
So obviously we've seen you adopt a bit of the Jey Uso YEET stuff lately, and of course being main event Maddy. I just wondered sort of how that came about.
I don't even know. I just got up onto the top rope one day and like I just saw someone go yeet, and I was like, yeet back at you. I was like, okay. And then everyone just started doing it, and then people started making posters, and it was like yeet main event Maddy Morgan, and I was like, okay, we'll roll with it, we'll do it. Come on,
it's got a good ring to it. Yeah.
That goes to show you never know what's going to stick to you. You know what I mean? You just do one thing off the cuff, and then I thought, there you are.
It's just this one person. Like, it'll be over by next week's show. And then I got up to the top rope thinking like, oh, normal, nothing. And there were just like swarm of people just doing that yeet thing, and I was like, I was like, this is gimmick infringement. I was like, I can't be doing this.
You got to go with the crowd.
Yeah, got to put some kind of some Maddy spin on it.
Yeah.
So obviously, speaking of obviously going up to the top rope, you know, the catchphrase is "When in doubt, whip the moonsault out." Is there a finisher out there that you've always wanted to do or try if the moonsault doesn't get the job done?
Head scissors Canadian. I've always liked doing them.
Nice.
I've made it. I don't know if people have done it before, but I made it up at training with one of my really good friends, Ace Wheeler, who is amazing, by the way. Made up with him there, and it's just so fun. Like, you just feel like you're on a roller coaster, and then eventually you've dropped someone on the head, and you're like, woo! Like, 1, 2, 3.
So is that literally like a flying head scissors into a Canadian destroyer?
Yeah. It's like you stop midway, and then you go, but you don't really stop. You just kind of touch, go.
Yeah.
Nice. That would be a hell of a move, to be fair. Don't know if anyone's done it before.
Because there was actually, my original finisher wasn't supposed to be a top rope moonsault. It was supposed to be a middle one. So it was like the one where I bounce off the bottom, top, the middle, and then go. But on my first ever match, I'd done my entrance. It was a 6-man tag. It was me and the Lancadors against Ace Wheeler and the Brand. And everyone had done their entrances. The Lancadors had just came out. They get onto the second rope, and the second rope falls through. Fully just goes onto the floor. And I was like, oh my God, like that's the finish gone. And like the full match, no middle rope. So we carried on, and I said to my coach on the side, I was like, I'm gonna go off the top. And he was like, right, okay. And I was like, no, I am. Like, seriously, I'm gonna do a moonsault off the top. And he was like, come on now, like, just do a standing one, like, it's all good. So they ended up brawling to the back. It was just me and Ace Wheeler left, and I can see the heads like peeking out from like the side curtain bit, and I just see them go like that, because I'm like climbing up these ropes, because there's obviously no middle one. So like the bottom of down here, like my leg is all the way up here trying to get up. I eventually got up, did the moonsault, and Dave, the MRD, actually cried. I don't know if he actually cried. He said he cried, but I hope he cried. I think.
Yeah, it sounds better if you did. We'll say you did.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Definitely did.
But, that's crazy. And the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
Yeah. But if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have done it, because I was absolutely petrified.
So obviously, I appreciate this next one's a little bit cliche, but we have to ask, who is on your wrestling's Mount Rushmore?
There's a few.
It's really hard, isn't it? We find this all the time. Everyone struggles.
Probably. I don't know. You know, there's so many.
You can do Mount Rushmore of the moment. Could change.
You tell me yours first, and then I'll go.
I think mine's going to be super old school.
You're going to be golden there.
I'd have Bret Hart. I'd have Mr. Perfect. I would have Roddy Piper, and I would have the last one. See, even Baby Kurt Angle, just because we've had him on the show and he's boss. And he's boss.
Yeah, he is cool. Yeah, I've got to have Kurt. That's fair. Undertaker. Mine's going to be a bit wild here. I'm going to go with Scotty 2 Hotty, because when I was a kid, I thought he was awesome. And Tony Storm, because of what she's doing right now. Hell yeah.
Has that helped at all? This won't bought you any time.
So I'm going to go Nikki Bella, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock,
nice,
Shawn Michaels, and Sasha when she was at WWE.
Yeah, good choices.
Yeah.
I mean, the Shawn Michaels one's hurt me.
You're a Bret Hart guy.
We'll let it slide. It's okay. So obviously, it feels like you're on the cusp of the next step now. You know, you've mentioned about maybe starting up a YouTube channel at some point, getting your own merch store, and just ultimately expanding your presence. There's a lot going on. What would be kind of the 5 big things you want to achieve this year?
This year, definitely doing a show in America.
Yep.
Getting to over 150 matches in 1 year.
Yeah.
I'm saying a lot. I'm just thinking. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Sorry. Whenever we watch our stuff back, I'm just constantly I hate it.
Probably.
This is going to be a very northern episode anyway, so you know.
True.
I know. I think definitely wrestling in 4 different countries.
Yeah.
So that's 3 so far. And then winning another title.
Yeah.
And
gonna add to the collection.
Maddy 2 belts.
Nice.
Maddy 2 belt. Let's not stop there. We'll go 3. Then probably trying to start properly looking at moving to America. It's like looking at the flats, looking at everything to definitely move over.
Yeah. Do you think you would go like Orlando because like the performance center and stuff, or you...
always where it's been?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Great theme parks as well, to be fair.
That's it. Yeah. Disney on your doorstep.
So obviously, lastly from us, obviously first LWF title defense is coming up against Luna Ray on the 1st of March. Not to give any strategy away at all, but what are your thoughts ahead of that match?
Definitely keep eyes in the back of my head. I've seen her; she's very quick. Definitely, yeah. I know she's a newer wrestler, but you never underestimate the newer ones. Never underestimate anyone, really. That's my main thing, because anyone can whip anything out, like whipping out an insult. You never know.
That's it. Even if there's a middle rope missing,
yeah,
exactly. You never know. Indeed. Maddy, thank you so much for taking the time. Before we do let you go, just let everyone know how they can kind of keep up with you and everything you've got going on.
So I've got my Instagram, which is Maddy Morgan PW. I'm trying to think what else I've got. I've got Instagram Threads. I've got TikTok, which is again, I think that's just Maddy Morgan PW again. And I am starting a YouTube channel soon to put my matches on, which will probably just be Maddy Morgan PW.
Makes sense. Keep it consistent.
That's it. Yeah.
No, honestly, thank you so much for taking the time. Obviously, incredibly bright future ahead, and we can't wait to see what you go on to do.
And remember, you're famous.
I know, yeah. Just don't forget us when you main event WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much.